When Cuomo announced the strange idea that New York was going to make unlawful the right of the public to choose not to patronize Starbucks and Walmart because of Israeli intransigence towards Gaza, he revealed a public relations machine that is out of control, that has so much power it can destroy the morals of the United States of America and then denounce anybody who doesn't want to do patronage to their own self destruction. Pittsburgh and Seattle have long operated this way towards me. They play friendly and they listen closely and they pick up on anything that they think they can use to play out behind my back to conjure enemies towards me. This is the way Seattle and Pittsburgh work, but more importantly, it's the way that Israel and England work towards the United States of America. When I talk disparagingly or sarcastically or flippantly about a place like Des Moines, they don't rush to my defense because I was tortured there and no one came to help me. Um, Really, it's a simple matter of wanting to be able to relax in a coffee shop. And the truth of the matter was, there was one there I rather liked. I read a large print copy of Martin Luther King's Strength to Love, which I was looking for at the time. And, you know, what backstabbers there are become professionalized. And that's the sort of culture we live in, where no friend is safe from the backblade of the insinuators and their innuendos. That's the way we live and how we have to live. Now, today was a peculiar day for me because I went down to um, the federal building to describe the terrible crimes committed against me that destroyed my life by Netanyahu's gang in Pittsburgh. And while I was on the bus, I remember that one of these people went by the name of Nava, which was clearly a nom de guerre. She hung out with a nam vet named Skeeter, who had a story about tying up a husky to be mated by a timber wolf. And she bragged about scamming an oil um, rig by demanding the right to um, work on it because she was a woman, where men were fighting to ultimate fights to get the job. And then she claimed she twisted her ankle and collected unemployment. This Shulman gang, this woman Nava, adopted her nom de guerre. Amy Edelstein was her name. She smoked a cigar and played a harp, and she was Israeli. She adopted the name of someone from the hilltop in Israel who was dating the man who murdered Rabin, the leader of Israel at the time, for being too soft on Palestine. Nava Edelstein herself was with me after the governor's school when I was framed for an armed robbery charge. He was out with me the day that it happened, or allegedly happened, and she refused to testify because she had helped set it up with the Pittsburgh police. And they kept me up all night showing me a picture of Ronnie Zizinski saying that it looked like me. Well, the woman who was allegedly robbed saw me and said, "Who's that?" I mean, the whole thing was ridiculous. So, um, when you look at things like the refusal to investigate the papers that were in the garage I was kidnapped to, on a nerve agent forcibly gassed by a man who talked to me in tongues, on Snively Road, which is a little hidden alley of horrors in the Night of the Living Dead section in Pittsburgh where Romero lives, you see Pittsburgh's cool attitude towards atrocity has come to roost in Gaza. There was a man named Paul Kaliza who was a PhD at Duquesne in phenomenology. And Kaliza had me read a book in which a short story in which a man was being tortured, and he finally, to get a respite, made up the most ridiculous thing he could think of. And when the Gestapo came back, they let him go and gave him cocktails because that, unfortunately, was where his peers were hiding. Well, this presaged Carbonell's warped and dangerously malicious carrot tape. So you could see that these people were inside the idea of hotwiring the mind of their enemy. Why was I their enemy? Because I was a public school advocate, advocating for public education and ecology. And they brought in some Ohio State trooper who said that pacifism is immoral. Let me explain to you what they mean by this. They were claiming to have found the letters at this point, so they knew about Wadmaker. Pacifism is immoral. Their idea, this pertains to Mackenzie Shirilla too, is the idea that the old 60s dichotomy between Lenin and Reagan, which we know the Lenins got violent defending Reagan from, would be that you pacifism moral because you don't fight Lenin's influence in drug culture, but or pacifism moral because you don't stand up for drug traffickers like Lenin did. So you're wedged into a fallacy as a drug slave. And their idea of pacifism moral pertained particularly to what they called, the British called child soldiers. And the way they get wheedle around it, these prefabrications, is very conspicuous. Is to say, well, it doesn't matter because Lenin and Reagan were important people. So what you see is inescapable horror of being targeted in a genocide operation, as Mackenzie Shirilla has been and was and is. She was bombed. She was car bombed. And they had me, it was a Jewish Holocaust survivor community who had me read That Was Then, This Is Now. The moral of That Was Then, This Is Now is I just wanted to make sure that I hated you. I just wanted to make sure that I hated you, is the moral of what Israel is doing to America by Gaza. They're saying, see, you will not jeopardize yourselves to protect the innocent. It's making us the object lesson, just to make sure that they hate us.